Drums thunder across the royal grounds of Horan as nobles gather to choose a future bride, and suddenly Zainab of Oba laughs loud enough to silence the crowd. Her gaze locks on Kola the blacksmith, his soot-stained hands gripping a hammer while whispers ripple through the arena. In a kingdom where ironworkers have long served warriors and kings, mocking a craftsman is more than pride. It is a public challenge. Faces turn, elders watch, and while Zainab enjoys the moment, no one notices the iron seal hidden in Kola's palm, stamped with the mark of the king himself. Zainab of Oba, Ilorin, carried a reputation that traveled faster than the market drums. Traders along Gambari Road praised her beauty, elders noticed her confidence, and many believed she would one day marry into influence. Yet beneath the admiration lived a quiet fear, the fear of returning to a life shaped by struggle. Ilorin, a historic emirate known for its blend of Yoruba and northern traditions, valued dignity and family honor, and Zainab wanted a future that reflected power, not hardship. She watched wealthy suitors pass through the royal grounds, measuring every gesture, every garment, every promise of comfort. Status meant safety to her. Recognition felt like protection. Kola stood apart near the forge platform, silent, patient, his tools resting against the iron stand, as if waiting for a command only he could hear. When he stepped forward and asked Zainab for a simple favor, just a moment of partnership before the crowd, she lifted her chin, smiled sharply, and refused him where everyone could see. The laughter that followed did not fade quickly, and Kola's eyes revealed nothing at all. The royal messenger's staff struck the stone floor, and the murmurs across Horan fell into silence. A new decree echoed through the gathering. Every maiden seeking honor must partner with a skilled trade worker during the 3-day festival, a tradition rooted in the region's long history of valuing craft alongside royalty. Names were called one after another, alliances forming under the watchful eyes of elders. When Zainab heard her own name, joined with Kola the blacksmith, her smile tightened. But the rules left no room for refusal. Among the Yoruba people, metalwork has long carried more than practical value. Iron workers were respected for discipline, endurance, and spiritual symbolism tied to creation and protection. Yet Zainab felt only embarrassment as she walked beside Kola, convinced that reputation mattered more than the quiet strength of a forge. Pride guided her steps, while whispers followed close behind. Night settled over the festival grounds, lanterns flickering against the iron tools as drums slowed into a steady rhythm. Zainab tried to ignore Kola's calm focus until a movement beyond the firelight caught her attention. Royal guards standing at a distance, watching him with unusual care. Their presence was deliberate, their silence heavy, and for the first time, doubt replaced her certainty. Morning light stretched across Taiwo Road as the festival crowd grew louder, and Zainab quickly realized that walking beside a blacksmith invited more attention than praise. Friends who once admired her now whispered behind decorated fans, teasing her choice, measuring her pride against the soot on Kola's hands. Laughter followed her steps towards Gary Alimi Market, where traders exchanged stories as quickly as goods, and rumors began shaping a version of her life she no longer controlled. In a city known for commerce and layered heritage, reputation traveled faster than truth, and Zainab felt the weight of every stare. She slowed her pace, allowing distance to grow between herself and Kola whenever nobles passed by. When elders approached, she spoke louder, pretending their partnership meant nothing beyond obligation. Kola responded with silence, focusing on his tools as sparks lifted briefly into the air, a reminder of Horan's long connection to ironwork and disciplined craft. But doubt crept in quietly. Would you protect your reputation, or allow someone the space to reveal who they truly are? Zainab chose distance, convinced it would preserve her image. Then, as drums echoed from the trading square, a wealthy horse trader from the northern caravans approached. The man studied Kola carefully and bowed his head slightly in greeting, a gesture of respect that no one expected, and one that sent a ripple of confusion through the watching crowd. The second day of the festival drew a larger crowd toward the forge arena, where heat from the coals shimmered against the morning air of Horin. Kola stepped forward without announcement, lifting raw metal with a calm focus that silenced nearby conversations. Each strike of his hammer followed a precise rhythm known to skilled ironworkers, a craft deeply respected across Yoruba history, where mastery of iron was often tied to discipline, heritage, and years of hidden training. Sparks rose like brief stars as the blade began to take shape, balanced and refined in a way few blacksmiths could achieve. Royal guards moved closer, clearing space without explanation, their presence shifting the mood from mockery to quiet attention. Traders who once laughed now watched carefully, recognizing that such precision did not come from ordinary labor. Zainab stood at the edge of the crowd, confusion softening her pride as curiosity replaced certainty. She had expected clumsy work, yet the sword, forming before her, carried elegance and authority. As the final strike echoed, Kola lowered his voice so only she could hear. He told her that her laughter earlier had saved her from a dangerous promise, words that carried weight but offered no clarity. Before she could question him, he turned back to the fire, leaving Zainab alone with a rising unease and a mystery that refused to settle. The rhythm of the festival slowed as evening approached Gambari Junction, where small traders gathered beneath worn umbrellas, counting coins and hoping for better fortune before nightfall. Zainab walked past with measured steps, still holding onto her pride, yet the image of Kola's skilled hands refused to leave her mind. She had built her confidence on appearances, but doubt began to press against the walls she had raised around herself. From a distance, she noticed Kola move quietly between stalls, speaking little as he handed folded notes to struggling vendors who tried to hide their gratitude. No announcement followed his kindness, no attempt to draw attention, only the quiet exchange that reflected a deeper understanding of responsibility. In many Yoruba communities, generosity is often expressed through action rather than words, and witnessing it unsettled everything Zainab believed she knew about him. Respect crept in slowly, challenging the sharp laughter she once used as a shield. How often do people hide strength behind simple work, allowing others to mistake humility for weakness? Zainab felt the question settle heavily within her as she returned to the forge arena. Kola lifted a heated blade from the fire, and as he adjusted his sleeve, something caught the glow of the flames. A royal bracelet slipped into view before disappearing again beneath the fabric, leaving her breath unsteady and her certainty shaken once more. The final day of the festival arrived with a tense stillness over Horin's palace grounds, where the sun glinted off tiled rooftops and banners fluttered in the wind. Traders, nobles, and families packed the streets, their anticipation a quiet hum beneath the distant beat of drums. Suddenly, the elders of the palace emerged from the carved gates, robes trailing and eyes sharp, signaling that the time for judgment had come. Whispers cascaded through the crowd as they approached the forge, where Kola stood, polishing the blade he had forged, calm and unshaken. Then a voice rang out, carrying authority that silenced the murmurs. The elders addressed him by name, Prince Adkala, the last son of the king. Recognition rippled like fire through the crowd. Faces went pale, traders dropped wares. Zainab Franci, heart hammering as she recalled every sharp word, every mocking laugh she had cast in public. The boy she had dismissed as a blacksmith was, in truth, the heir she had never imagined, and the weight of her pride pressed heavily upon her chest. Across Yoruba kingdoms, tests of humility have long been woven into social and cultural life, revealing character more profoundly than praise or status ever could. The festival had been one such test, and now the lesson unfolded before everyone's eyes. Before Zainab could gather herself, a voice cut through the stunned silence. A rival maiden, eyes wide with indignation, stepped forward. She accused Zainab of disrespecting royalty, her words sharp enough to echo off the palace walls. The crowd held its breath. Punishment hung in the balance, and for the first time, Zainab realized the full consequence of her arrogance. The palace courtyard buzzed with tension, voices rising and falling as the crowd pressed closer to the unfolding confrontation. Zainab stepped forward, her heart pounding against the rhythm of drums that had long marked royal ceremonies in Ilorin. She could feel the weight of every gaze, the judgment of nobles and traders alike. But this time, she spoke not to defend her pride, but to reveal her truth. "I mocked without understanding," she admitted, voice steady despite the flutter in her chest. "I judged Kola for what I saw, not what he carried within." Her confession hung in the air, a sharp contrast to the whispers of gossip and expectation that had followed her for days. Prince Etola, standing tall in the glow of the courtyard lanterns, regarded her carefully. In Yoruba tradition, honesty and integrity often outweigh appearances or status, and his measured silence carried more authority than any decree. The crowd shifted, the murmurs of scorn fading into murmurs of respect as they recognized a transformation unfolding before them. Growth had replaced arrogance. Accountability had earned its place. Then, Akola's gaze swept across the assembly. Raising his hand slightly, he posed a question that cut through the quiet. "Who among you understands what it truly means to honor another?" The words lingered in the warm evening air, leaving every onlooker suspended, waiting for the judgment that would define the festival's end. As the festival drew to a close, and the sun dipped behind Horan's palace walls, a quiet reflection settled over the courtyard. Zainab stood beside Prince Kola, her earlier pride softened by the weight of truth, realizing that dignity is measured not by appearance, but by action. Across Yoruba history, kings and elders have long tested character through subtle trials, teaching that humility and respect reveal more about a person than titles or wealth ever could. In the warm glow of the evening, the crowd began to disperse, but the question lingered in the air. If greatness were hidden behind simple work, would you recognize it or dismiss it too quickly? Zainab's journey had challenged assumptions, reshaped judgments, and left her, and those who witnessed her story, with a lesson that resonates far beyond the palace grounds. And now, as the drums fade into memory, the choice belongs to each observer. Would you see beneath the surface, or let pride blind you?